Well, Brian, as you know, we've had no shortage of tough talk from President Trump when it comes to NATO allies. He says that the United States will no longer be the world's piggy bank. He also said NATO allies are really going to have to pony up here and pay their fair share when it comes to defense spending or else. I had the chance to catch up first with the NATO Secretary General, and I asked him how this is all going to play out, especially against this backdrop of potential European tariffs and a trade war. Let's listen in.
You are right that there are some real disagreements on issues like trade, but also, for instance, on climate change and the Iran nuclear deal. These are serious disagreements. At the same time, we know that there has been disagreements between NATO allies before. The strength of NATO and the success of NATO is that we have been able to overcome these differences and again prove that we are able to unite around our core task to protect and defend each other. And I'm confident that we will do the same this time.
Now, of course, this isn't the first time that the president has talked tough when it comes to NATO. Of course, pushing around NATO allies quite literally is something that he came under serious criticism for the last time around, this time last year. So a lot of questions on whether or not that kind of tactic is really going to work at this point, especially given the fact that just a week after this NATO summit, he's going to be in Helsinki meeting with President Putin. You know, one of the questions there, Brian, is, of course, you know, will Crimea come up? Will there be a rapprochement with Russia? Does that mean that the status quo in Crimea will be the same? So a lot of questions on what will happen next, certainly on down the line with President Putin. And this is something that's going to be talked about, no doubt, next week in Brussels, and we'll bring it all to you live.
Yeah, certainly. I think you're referring to the time when the president, like last year, literally shoved aside, I think it was the Serbian NATO minister, like literally pushed him aside.
The Georgian prime minister, I think.
It was Georgian prime minister to get to the front of the picture there. But the president does have a point when he talks about how America spends a disproportionate amount for NATO, does he not?
He does indeed. And the question, of course, going forward is going to be, you know, are they making these commitments fast enough? And when I asked the Secretary General about this, he said, you know, to be honest, I have to get on them myself, but I do see a lot of progress being made. It's just slow progress. And we have to just continue to push and hope that they inevitably fulfill those commitments, because at the end of the day, it's about defense spending at home, not necessarily commitments to NATO.